Happy Wednesday, beautiful goddesses. Oh, yay. Oh, look at all these faces. Hey, Kaya, Nicole, Robin, Sandra, Laura, gorgeous. Lori, glad you're here. Aggie, Joanna. Okay, everyone's still hopping in. Welcome. Drop in the thread. How's everyone doing? Tell me, how's your week going? Amazing, Lexiana. So glad you're here.
Hello.
Hey, Queen. Oh my God, it's Elizabeth. You're here. Hey, babe. So good. Heidi. Holly. Oh my goodness, I miss you. Hi, babe. Okay, amazing. Yes, Robin. Oh my gosh, are you getting hit with the freezing rain?
Well, we're up here in upstate New York. We've had 75-degree weather and we have these torrential storms moving through today, which is why I'm home and able to be here. I'm grateful. It's better to be home. And it's like we've had tornadoes south of us. And now we're headed, it's going to be like 28 degrees, the high, like Friday or Saturday. And I see Kali going like that. So she must be around here somewhere as well. So, yeah, but my week's been amazing other than that. So,
Yay. So good. Aside from the weird weather stuff, that's why we don't like weather's so easy to talk about, but it's crazy. Oh, it's like why we don't want to talk about weather. Okay. Except we do want to talk about it when it's crazy, is the funny thing. Also, I keep getting texts from people back home and they're like, yeah, like the girls' school was actually shut down today, which doesn't usually ever happen in the boonies where we are. You can always still go into school, but apparently the weather is zonkers. And I'm just glad that I'm in Florida. Yeah. Oh, Laura S. So glad to see you. Chelsea, hey, babe. Okay. I am so excited to talk about this launch. One, just because it's like very, very attuned to what is very real for me right now. And it's also, I know that the conversation around like everyone knows what the pivot is. We know it's a valuable tool to pull out of our toolkit. So we're going to talk about the pivot, and we're also going to, of course, do a practice where we're going to feel it in our body, and it's going to be a really juicy call. Um, which I'm going to skip over brags today. So if you do have brags and you're like bursting to share, pop them in the thread, just so then we also have just like the pussy sprinkles of goodness weaving into the container. So share those and let us feel you. Okay, so the pivot, the pleasure pivot. So this all came out of actually one of the things that my coach caught from me this week, which was good. This is why I pay my coaches to see the same things that I don't see. So I'm going to tell you a little story because what I think is so beautiful and what like where the gold for today was birthed out of was essentially from the outside perspective, what one might have called a failed launch. So I put something out into the world. It wasn't quite landing the way I expected it to. Also, I could feel it in my body that it wasn't landing. I also felt like I could feel myself question it, which I'll speak to that also later, sort of in the teaching component of this. A few years ago, this would have sent me into a spiral. I remember when I put out my very, very first launch, I was so excited for it. I honestly had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, yay, I'm going to put this thing out. It's going to be a launch. Oh my God, everybody's going to want it. I had no idea what a launch required energetically. No one signed up. And I was devastated. It took me another 6 months. It took me 6 months to even dare trying to launch anything again. So a few years ago, I would have collapsed. I would have been knocked out. I would have questioned everything. I would have questioned my offer, my leadership, my business. That like, oh my God, is this, it's like, and also with a thriving 7-figure business, I still sometimes think that like about my business of like, oh, is this just like some cute thing that I think that I'm doing? Meanwhile, even when it's literally a functioning, churning, successful business. But so I did the thing uh, where instead of following that timeline, I paused and I thought, okay, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something different from here. So this time I didn't collapse. And actually, the very first thing that went through my head was, well, businesses launch things. So, Meg, what are we launching? If we're not doing this, what are we doing? So, essentially, where I kind of put like a little green flag beside that thing was that was my first pleasure check in, right? So, instead of spiraling, I did something that I have trained myself to do over these 5 years. I checked in with my pleasure. So it wasn't like I'm not going, well, that should have worked. Oh, what would look good right now? I actually checked into what felt alive for me to lead. I had women who were telling me, I need something like this. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, like, why am I offering this thing to just these people when I could be offering this thing to like all of the people that I want to serve? So, um, I went back to what I actually wanted to lead with because when something isn't landing, it doesn't necessarily mean that the desire is wrong. It just means that the approach needs to have that pivot. And honestly, we as women already know how to do this because we do it in bed all the time, right? When something, whether with ourselves or with someone else, if something isn't quite hitting the right mark in bed, we don't just go, well, we might, right? Like we might collapse and go, oh, forget it. Get out of bed. This isn't working. The night's a failure. We're done, right? Like we can take that option. But often what we'll do is we'll go, okay, wait, this isn't hitting the mark. Our bodies can feel things and we'll go, okay, hang on. Um, let's pivot, right? We bring in the pivot. Hi, cutie. Hi. So this is where we literally take a second to change the rhythm and we change position or we shift our attention, right? So I think mommy's going to have to ask you to leave. You're going to go, what is mommy talking about? It's going to be really boring. I don't care. You don't care. I know you won't even know what I'm talking about. So we'll go, okay, where is my pleasure? Okay, I'm getting like attention here, and that's not doing it for you. So maybe the clit needs attention. Maybe you're like, oh, actually, the clit's feeling overstimulated. Maybe it's the G spot that needs attention. Maybe you're like, pussy is not ready for any touch yet. What are you doing there? Could you please, like, I need attention on my body. Maybe it's that we want to bring in a toy. So the point is, what we start to do is we begin to follow the pleasure, right? So we start to listen because the goal isn't to prove that the original move was correct. The goal is the orgasm or the tumescence. And business literally works exactly the same way. So a launch not landing for me the way that I expected it to wasn't a failure. It was literally just feedback. And it's in this moment where I chose instead to get curious and ask, where is the actual turn on here for me? What actually wants attention? What actually wants to shift? And this is where, for me, and likely for most of you, because you were here on this call, pleasure is one of the most powerful feedback systems that we have, right? And usually when something lights us up, there's energy. We start to feel it, right? Like there's something that starts to move through our bodies. This is like, I like to call it that erotic aliveness. And so we feel energy, we feel creativity, And then also, this is kind of where our leadership, this is like why for me, I love playing with the erotic, is because there's that erotic aliveness that we feel, but it guides us into that erotic leadership that is kind of just waiting there. It's like, it's actually the erotic that is leading us. And then we step into leadership with it. So when something feels dead, if we just keep following that, forcing it is rarely going to create the outcome we want. Like, again, we can go back to bed, like to the bedroom, and just think like, why would we keep pressing the sensation that feels overstimulating, uncomfortable, or numb? Like, that's that is going to that's we are going to collapse in the end, right? So what we're talking about today is the pleasure pivot, how to recognize when something isn't landing, and how we can shift without collapsing, quitting, or what we're so good at doing sometimes too is making it mean something about ourselves, because that's also just silly. And we're going to do this because, just like in sex, women who experience the most pleasure in business are the ones who are willing to pivot toward what actually feels good. And this is why I always say sex is literally just a mirror of our lives, right? If we probably have dry pussies, our life might be feeling dry too. Wet pussies, wet life. Um, and we are the ones who have control of that. So forcing a launch isn't landing, isn't, sorry, how do I say this? Forcing a launch that isn't landing is the business equivalent of bad sex. So think about that one for a second, because this is how I see it. Forcing a launch that isn't landing is the business equivalent of bad sex. When we're having bad sex, everyone involved can feel it, right? It's like there isn't a pink elephant or white elephant in the room. Like, we know when that's not working. So the moment that someone finally takes action to pivot, this is when everything gets better. Okay. So what is the difference between collapse versus the pivot? We want to get clear on this, right? Because it's like, okay, get right. It's all is landing. How do I make sure that I'm in control of this? So we first want to know, what is the difference between collapse and pivot? So when something doesn't land in business, most people will do one of three things. They collapse, they force it, or they pivot. So the collapse will look like the thoughts that we start telling ourselves, oh God, this failed. This was a failure. Or we'll start to come up with a multitude of stories. Oh, maybe I'm not good at this. I shouldn't be doing this. This must mean that I'm not meant to be on this path. Or you'll actually just feel the energy drop in your body, right? All of a sudden you're like, oh, it's kind of like that. Katie's not here today, but I think it was Katie. Someone had recently said how it's like you get that like pit. We did an embodiment practice, and it's like the turnoff is when it almost feels like whatever's in your heart or your solar plexus kind of drops into the pit of your tummy. You may take that if you would like to go to step one. Wonderful. So that we just feel that drop, and we're like, wait, I no longer feel attached to the turn on or direction. So that's the collapse. Force is when we're like, I'm gonna just push harder. I must do more. More marketing, more urgency, and it's like more everything. So we're literally pushing. Meanwhile, the energy is dead. So it's just like we're pushing, pushing, pushing something that has zero life. Meanwhile, the pivot is the pleasure move. Pivoting is not quitting. It is where we choose to stay devoted to desire. So we're just changing the pathway to it, right? So again, if we go back to the bedroom, if one move isn't working in bed, we don't have to abandon the entire night. What we're going to do is just shift the rhythm. So, oh, I don't want to be on my back. Hey, I'm going to turn to my side. Can we try doggy? Like we're going to shift the angle or the attention. So again, pleasure isn't sourced in the place that you're attending to right now. I feel like this place wants attention. Desire does the same. It just allows the pathway to shift. That is literally the pivot. Also, we want to look at this conversation has been coming up hot in the sacred seductress thread. Um, Pleasure is not a mood. Sometimes we think pleasure is a mood, and so we can have pleasure when we're in the mood. Pleasure is, for us as women, it's our compass, right? So pleasure guides us. It doesn't mean pleasure is motivation. Pleasure can motivate us, but that is more so tied to us thinking that it's a mood. So sometimes, and this is great, when pleasure feels like excitement, creativity, turn on, we know what it feels like. But also sometimes pleasure looks like that's more when it's a mood. It's because we're feeling it. But sometimes pleasure will look like us just maintaining curiosity, right? It's like we holding presence and maintaining curiosity. Or it's when we all of a sudden feel a little spark. The other thing that happened in my pivot was I went, spirit led me. I was on like some random Facebook group and I saw this invitation for an in-person networking event. And I thought, well, there's not there. For those of you who don't know, I live in a very rural area and there's never group anything to go to. And I was like, I probably should do that. So I went, and that totally lit a spark for me. It was like inspiration started to move, talking to people and hearing insight and people having suggestions on where to offer things, like it was a huge spark. Even sometimes just having that subtle like, hmm, right? So for me, like the kind of also started to come in the pivot where this one, I surrendered. I think surrender is huge in a pivot. And I can track that because I can think of moments in so many launches where I've just been on the floor thinking, would the ground just eat me up and swallow me? Sobbing, 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 thinking, oh my God, this is the end. Like let me let me disappear from this planet, right? Full surrender. So I did that on one of my coaching calls, which was so embarrassing too, because it's a new group. I didn't know these women and I got off and I thought, oh my God, these women are going to think I'm crazy. But it was so perfect because it was my moment of surrender. And it was so soon after that call, I saw the impact of the pivot. Also seeing, so, I was in my, like, there were moments I wanted to collapse, but then I saw women again in this mastermind who were winning and they were doing their launches. And I felt like genuine, like, oh my God, yes, at least someone's like, it's working for someone. Um, like I said, going to the in-person event. And then I switched to what program would turn me on. And it was one that had been sitting in my back pocket for 9 months. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's the one that, oh my God, that's the one that wants to be here now. So pleasure rarely comes screaming at us, right? Like she's usually this like beckoning whisper. So the question for us becomes, in those moments, where is our next 5% of aliveness? We're not looking for the whole path to unveil itself to us. We're literally just looking for the next move. So, this is where we're going to play around with a little exercise so we can kind of feel what a micro pivot looks like. So, many people will think that a pivot has to be some big dramatic change, whereas the power really comes in these minute micro pivots. So in business, it could be like new messaging, a new title. It could be shifting your audience, or you might even not switch off of the thing. You might just realize, oh, there's a new angle I want to take at this. In the bedroom, it means that we're going to change the rhythm. I'm going to move a hand, shift position, slow down, speed up. So the smallest pivot is what can unlock our entire experience. This is what we're going to play with. So, um, oh, Chelsea, I'm just seeing your question now. How to discern between forcing something versus pushing ourselves. Do you want to expand on that for me?
So you were talking like before, you were talking about like pushing something and like the launch.
Right.
And so sometimes I find myself where it's not necessary where I'm just like, okay, am I making up excuses, trying to like delay and procrastinate because it's pushing me out of my comfort zone, or am I actually like pushing against, like trying to force something that's not there right now?
Right. This would go back to that, like I would probably in that situation, um, go back to that. Uh, there was a practice we did where we were feeling our authentic yes and our authentic no. I think this also really helps when we do have a awareness of what our limiting beliefs are, because we can usually, again, if we start to tune into the curiosity, we probably can discern, oh shoot, this is me just like, this is more like self-sabotage, this is me trying to distract myself and protect myself, right? Like because you're up against an edge. um
Or I guess it also is like sometimes um some of my teachers and mentors, they're like, the hurdles are there to see like how much you want it.
yeah,
S- Like, how do you really tell whenever, okay, this is just a hurdle and it's a yes and like keep going, or this is like me really forcing and I should like take a step back? Like
yeah.
what works for you?
Right. So if you can identify, yeah, I think the hurdles you can always see because they kind of come like total curveballs in, and you'll get to a point where you're like, oh, of course. Like I remember the first time that I led an in-person couples retreat and I needed my husband to help me with, like, he had to be there to help like demo a lot of the practices. And I remember it was like, this is my fear was like, can he hold this? Like, this is out of he's not a facilitator. Um, and then he ended up crashing our truck 4 days before the retreat. And I was like, oh, of course he crashed the truck, right? Because that was his hurdle. Like, this was an up level for him. And so that was the thing that his psyche created for his experience to have to step into that up level. Um, I have a client right now who also is going through like her stretches in visibility. She is has a highly public profile, and it's really stretchy for her to show up as a pleasure coach. And so she's like, what is the edge and how much visibility can I have? And so, of course, a journalist has reached out and has found her website and questioned her and this work. And I'm going, you said you wanted to be more visible. Of course, this is going to be brought into public eye. So I think the hurdles we start to get really familiar with. And now I find when a hurdle comes in, I actually am like, okay, yay, of course this is happening. The same thing happened before coming here for Florida. 3 days before leaving, my husband comes in the morning and he's like cursing, and he's like, oh, of course, this is so convenient. And I'm going, oh God, like he's in and out, slamming doors. And I'm like, what in God's name happened? And he comes in and he plunks himself right in the middle of the kitchen. He goes, well, this is like the worst thing that could be happening right now. And I'm thinking, don't tell me. Like, no, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Do I want to know? And there was like this whole thing with our outdoor furnace. The mice had chewed through the wire, and the outdoor furnace is what heats the house in the winter. And I'm like, right, this is just the thing. It's testing us. Are we really going to leave for Florida. I even got tested at the border. The border, what are they called? Border control. They were like, you've overstayed. Like they told me you can't come. And I thought, oh, okay. My first thought was, great, well, just turn around and go back home. Um, and also I thought, how in God's name have I overstayed? I don't come to the US that often. And so I even saw that as like a test, right? Like it was like it did try to jump start my nervous system. And and I held it and I stayed in pleasure. And I was like, well, I'm just going to flirt with him and also just like abashedly bat my eyelashes because also in truth, I had no idea. I'm like, what are you talking about? And so pleasure guided it through and it all worked out. So this is so great. Yeah. Hurdles will come. Hurdles you'll actually get familiar with celebrating because it's just a test. If you're going to like, you'll know when you need to pivot because something's just not working. I was at the point of, do I want to cancel this? Or like, what am I going to do? Like, do I want to run this? Or it's so in that place of knowing, like I knew a pivot had to happen. It was kind of just sitting with a curiosity of what's the pivot going to look like, if that makes sense. Anyways, that was so great because I love that we just got to do a whole little mini session on hurdles. And also your clients will love it because to them, like you celebrating a hurdle, like this client who's going through this thing with the journalist, like she's in it. She is literally in the expansion so exquisitely because it is torture. She is losing sleep. It's not pleasant in any way for her. And I'm like, I'm like in bed at 11 p.m. and I'm like, I've just been thinking about it. This is so good for you because it's getting her to like narrow down her why. And she's having to speak so publicly, like she literally is going to have to speak publicly about it, which means that she's going to be visible. And I know that with both men and women, her story is going to hit so cleanly. And so I'm like, this is not bad. I'm so excited. And she's like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you? This feels terrible, but I can see it. Right. So it's fun because, yeah, your clients will be like, what is wrong with you, you crazy woman? And you'll be like, just watch. Okay. So yeah. Right. Callie's like, you're clocking. You're like, actually, I'm seeing all of the places probably that I have said to you. I'm so happy this is happening to you. Yeah. Okay. So let's play with a pivot in our body. So what we're going to do is, one, I just want you to experience it. So we're going to just go through kind of a touch journey. I want you to just start with, we're going to do about 4 or 5 different touching sensations. So, and you're just going to think, like, you will let yourself think for a second in between each, into that next 5%. Like, so you're just going to listen to your body. So think of let's just brainstorm some touches. You can pop some in the thread here, but like, okay, one for me is like, I love just like a slow, soft, just the very tips of my fingertips across my collarbone. Like that's almost, oh my God, it could be like orgasmic for me. It could be like fingertips up through your hair at the nape of your neck. Oh, and like, finish with like a little tug. It could be trailing fingertips up your forearm. Oh, another good one. It could be like my body's already got goosebumps. It could be fingertips from your knees down to the crease of your thighs. It could be fingertips over the arch of your feet. So all these different types of touch. Start with one. So just go, okay, where on my body is first asking for touch? And you're going to go there. We're going to stay with that one touch for 20 to 30 seconds. I'm going to do a song shift. With the song shift, you're going to switch touch. So just a quick check-in. Okay, where now? Where wants touch now? And then you're going to go to that place. We're going to stay 20 to 30 seconds. Again, at 30 seconds, we'll shift. Where wants touch now? So you're just going to follow where pleasure and your body is guiding you. You can also think different types of touch, right? Is it soft touch? Oh, sometimes I love just like a really luscious ass grab, or even I love to just like firmly grab the insides of my thighs. You could do a pinch. It could be with your nails. So what touch is being asked for from you? Any questions on that? That makes sense. Okay, perfect. So just letting yourself settle into, maybe I'll take a second and let's just like guide us into landing in our bodies. So bringing your eyes to a gentle close and just letting yourself begin to settle into this space. Beginning to notice your breath. So without trying to change it, just noticing what each inhale feels like, how your body moves with the exhale. See if you can notice where the edges of your body are meeting with the air around you. Feeling where your sitting bones are connected with your seat. Okay, gorgeous. And then from here, I'm going to put on the first song. Sometimes with music too, it's like, let yourself feel the music too and see what touch wants to come through the sound. And guide to that first touch. Really feel this one movement.
Do I soothe you? Tell the truth now. Do I move you? Are you loose now? Lay out so
And now, where wants touch next? Where are you going to take that movement to?
Listen to the wind blow, watch the sun rise. Run in the shadows, damn your love, damn your life. Listen to the wind blow, watch the sun rise. Run in the shadows, damn your love, damn your life.
Okay, now pivot. Where next?
It's not passion till you bleed a little for it.
Where are you guided to?
It's not love till you last more than a little bit. Feel the heat on your neck. It's not real till it's gone and you're no longer holding on to it. If we wanna get close, then we'll need to get lost in the heat of it.
Of it. Where is aching for sensation now?
Mix with me, unfold solutions. Bear witness to my evolution. Violent moans, untamed contusions. We're not really here, it's all illusion. Tonight we relish in desire. You say that I'm a state of mind. I say a space, you say I'm tight. What if the two could intertwine?
From here,
You grab me there, your
keep your eyes closed. Bring one hand to heart, one hand to pussy. Okay. So just sitting with that sensation, letting yourself just feel what was there. This is actually a great place to come back to Chelsea's question, right? Like with that pivot, what did you notice as you went to each sensation? Did it get better? Was there clarity? Like this is how pleasure evolves, not one from one perfect move, but from listening and adjusting. So just to seal this for your personal practice today, as you stay connected with with heart and pussy, these two powerful poles in your body, just sitting with what is maybe the next micro pivot that is available for you right now. So translating this from your body experience into life. Or scanning and noticing, where are you collapsing instead of experimenting? Or forcing instead of pivoting? And just holding that wisdom, let it land in your heart. If you feel wisdom or insight landing with your next breath, you can take a nice deep breath in through your nose. And on the exhale, let that knowing just send it all the way down the length of your spine so that it lands in pussy, that powerhouse that can transform it into creation for you. And let's just take another deep breath, breathing in through the nose, and this time on your exhale, letting out an audible sound. Okay, and let me just take a second to just frame this before we do some whole group frames. So in getting to feel that in your body, women will often think that the most powerful leaders are the ones who always know the right move. So let this sensation be a lesson that the most powerful leaders are really the ones who stay present enough to adjust in real time. It's the women who listen, who pivot, who follow their aliveness, whether in business or in bed. And that is also the value of pleasure, because sometimes we don't know which touch feels the best, right? And so you might have gone through those, and actually maybe you went and one touch didn't feel good and you were like, not this one. That's still feedback. It's information, right? So the women who experience the most pleasure are the ones who stay curious enough to take that information and keep adjusting. The goal is not to be right. The goal is to stay in the experience long enough to find the gold, to find what works. And the outcome of the pivot for me is that this divine sacred seductress container that opens tomorrow has 20 divine delicious goddesses who are ready, hungry, turned on, wanting to explore pleasure as a discipline, wanting to play with nervous system capacity, how to hold more, how to reach for more, playing with beauty and flirt and seduction and play, and how all of those things allow for us to create more. And on that note, if there is anyone who still would like to come and join us, the space is so lusciously turned on and hot. I feel like there's been like mini podcasts already flowing in the space. So it does open tomorrow. You may still come and join this wildly delicious, hot, luscious crew if it so calls you. I would love to have you there. I know the women there would love to have you there. It's going to be a really powerful 3-month container. So I just want to drop that invite, and I'm going to drop the link. But while I pull the link up, I would also like to take time for us to just frame how it felt to play with the pivot in your bodies.
Hi.
Hey, Lexiana.
I'm still integrating. That felt very profound. And for me, what came up was mostly around dating. Um, and I just heard like let go of all the rules with this guy. Just let go of all the rules. Because I was like, no, like he slept with my friends all these months ago, and my friend, like, it was like such a fling, like she's totally okay with it, but I'm like, no, like girl code, and like just inventing all these rules that nobody else cares about. And I think he's delicious. So so and he thinks I'm delicious. And so I think, yeah, that and that applies to a lot of areas of my life. For me, like, I'm deepening my surrender these days,
Yeah.
and it's very sexy, and also like under like I'm also processing the sadness of like the wounding that led me to like have to control everything and know everything all the time, you know. So it's I don't know if it's a dual experience. All encompassing feels more accurate. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great word for the path. That is a great choice of language. It is
Thank
all
you.
encompassing. And and the invitation for you is that what is the 5%? Like what's the 5% more that I get to reach for in this, right? That's
Mm,
all you're responsible for being curious about to be able to
mm,
like move forward down
mm,
that path. And also just knowing, there's that surrender is the most humbling thing we can do. Um, like my coach had pointed that out. And she's like, not a lot of women would have ever given themselves permission to suck. Also, I would told my girlfriends, I was like, when I cried on the call and they were like, for all 10 minutes? And I was like, for all 10 minutes. I was sobbing all 10 minutes. And so, like the surrender will humble us. But that is
mm.
why I truly think that's what allows the pivot to really come in and
Yeah,
pick up its pick up its own energy forward.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other frames from that practice?
I really loved how my desire to touch different parts was really based on the mood of the music. and that I was really able to tune into that and how different parts of my body were turned on based on what the vibe was of the music.
Ooh, I love that. That's a great key to carry, which is why I think music is so like allows us to access pleasure so lusciously. But I love, and I feel like my body does the same thing, Chelsea. Which is why I think I always tell people like just like listen to the music for a second before you even drop into movement. But that's like the key to hold on to is again, it's like the curiosity piece. Like, okay, let music do the work first, and then you get to respond to it. Your pleasure will respond to it, which I think is great because sometimes, again, people are like, oh, pleasure feels like so much effort. But like, what's the thing that we can, the 5%, right? Maybe the 5% is, oh, pleasure or music works for me. I should just go turn on, like instead of thinking, oh God, I know I need to orgasm. And then, good God, how do we get from turned off to orgasming, right? Well, maybe I'm going to go turn on a song first and then see what happens. So good.
I frame that when the music starts, you close your eyes, the music starts, you drift off. It's like a drift off into this land of surrender.
Yeah.
But it's not a surrender like I'm giving up. It's a surrender toward I'm giving out and I'm opening up.
Yeah.
And letting this idea and this feeling, especially of pleasure, take me over. I'm getting out of my brain, you
Yeah.
know, going to the body that part of my body that needs the love and attention in that moment. And it shifts like you did with the music, but getting out of my head, and here we go again, getting out of your head where we self-sabotage and into your body and in surrendering so that we can open up. And that's kind of what started really coming in for me. And it's easy to forget about. And yet I'm reminded very easily it's right there for me whenever I want it. Community doing it here is sheer rapture. But if I go turn on that music and I have to remember to surrender to just inviting in that feeling and that mindset of pleasure. I frame remembering this. And
Mm,
so thank you.
mm. I love how you kind of describe that too. Like there's a memory with surrender. Like our body actually does, and like our body, once we do learn how to surrender, and in the way you're talking it, not the surrender of, oh God, I give up. I mean, sometimes God, I give up can be the opening to that surrender of like, I give up and I'm yours. Like, what now? Right? Like I give myself over. I'm like that piece to let pleasure come in. But I love how you just frame that with like your body knows how to surrender. So I think sometimes I do think there's a lot of women who don't know what surrendering actually feels like. And I think it is very valuable um, in the devotional path. Yeah. Okay, goddesses, this was juicy as always. Thank you for your frames. If there is anything super alive for you again on like the pleasure theme in the Modern Priestess thread or the Sister Goddess group, just let me know if there's anything you want to play around with or explore. I always love getting suggestions and going from there. So I can't wait to see you for next Wednesday. And I will see so many of you for Sacred Seductress tomorrow. If you have any questions about Sacred Seductress, message me. I would love to chat with you. Because if you're not in there, I would love to have you there. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be so good. And so we'll see you there, but definitely see everyone next Wednesday. So much love. Enjoy your day. Bye, babes.
Thanks, Megan.
You're welcome. My pleasure always.
Thank you.
You're welcome.